Hi, welcome back to a brand new video of the Targeted Individual Program, Targeted Experience. One of the things I love to do, again, is to speak the truth, to reveal the truth, and to show the truth. All right? And when I talk about Negropeans and their ignorant, believing mind, how they will be weaponized against those within their own community, all right, and blame each other for things they don't understand, for things they have no idea about, for things in which the Predator Police Department are engaging in, corporate, corrupt corporations are engaging corrupt members of the churches are engaging in order to manipulate, to deceive, and lie and profit. All right. So when Nigerians want to believe that the government don't engage in the type of crimes that we as TIs have been talking about, we it's unbelievable because there's always a trail. All right, and we have plenty of trail considering the U.S. government over the past decades and the crimes that they have committed against civilian population, particularly black people, black communities, and so forth. And not just the government, but we're talking about the Predator Police Department, law enforcement, the military, the security agencies, the corporations, state government, state run agencies, such as NYCHA here in New York. And NYCHA in itself has been engaging in lying about lead testing, about apartments being free of lead, also about repairs, to the point where you had a public housing building that partially collapsed. And they can go in front of a judge and say, we did this, we did that, and get called out to be liars, and there is no repercussion. There is no karma on the point of those who work with the NYCHA, right? Who will have elderly living in rat infested apartments with holes in the ceilings, uh, overflowing toilet, sewage in the toilet, right? Because they think it's totally fine for people to live like that, right? And Nigerians with their belief in mind, on this God that they love to call on, who ain't doing the shit, ain't doing a damn thing for them. I know the Nigerians who believe because they drive a nice car, they got a nice house, and they're part of the middle class. That God is it ain't God. This is why they're silent about the atrocities being committed by the Predator Police Department across America against black people, because they think that they're the good Negroes, right? That's they say we are the good. No, they are the most corrupt. They're the most criminal of all Negropeans. Okay, because they turn a blind eye to the injustice. They turn a blind eye to what continues to be done to other black people. There was that black pastor who was watering his neighbor's yard because they had asked him to, right? Gets assaulted and arrested by the police. His attitude was, "I'm a pastor." It's like, we just don't get it, do we? They don't give a shit. The other pastor who was killed by a black police officer because they don't give a shit. So you got to understand the mindset and how they've made society and is programming society, people within the society, to have the exact same mindset. So that way, once you get people desensitized to engaging in mass poisoning, all sorts, you weaponizing people, right? You then have a society that's highly uh, uh, evil, wicked, and vile. And this is being done on purpose because there are people in power who use religion to control us. So once they start to do this within this society, what do you think is going to happen? And I talk about the agenda to microchip everybody, particularly black people. to listen and pay attention. Okay. Now this I wanted to talk about because I was watching, like I said, there's videos that have been popping up on my YouTube channel, my channel page, and this one again I talked about this. So I talked about also how corporations make billions of dollars selling our data, our private data, to the tune of almost $1 trillion in revenue every year. Right? We're not seeing that money, and they're getting wealthier and wealthier. And the rest of us, particularly in the black community, not only have our rights being taken away, right? With this, and they're doing it because they know that those within the churches have engaged in criminal activities, and they're being controlled by those within the police departments, the predator departments, and those the predator departments are being controlled by who? Corporations, right? Or by uh, upper law enforcement agencies, who are being controlled by those within the military, the Secret Service, who are being controlled by the racists in Congress, in the Senate, in the judicial branch. So we got to understand what it is that we're dealing with because it is not getting better. And as I said, whatever is done to the black community will be done to white communities as well. Because see, they don't care whether you're white or you're black or have you. What they care about, those in power, those elites, those racist, wealthy elites, they care about money more than anything else. And they understand that they are our gods. Right? And I can prove it to you. Right? What do I say? The people that are in control of everything that you as a person or people need to survive, they are your gods. Doesn't matter. You want to pray to an imaginary god. If these people decide that they will not bring food into the community, there's no food in the community. If they decide that they're going to close down the schools will be closed down. If they decide that they are going to shut off the water will be shut off. Okay? This is why they believe in that they are our gods. But again, I'm going to prove to you. I'm not saying it. I'm proving it to you. Right? What these people continue to do. And how they have always preyed on the poor and working class. And they give you a false perception of the reality. So this is an article called Bombs in Our Backyard. How the EPA and the Pentagon downplay a growing toxic threat. A family of chemicals known as PFAS and responsible for marvels like Teflon and critical for the safety of American military bases now has emerged as a far greater menace than previously disclosed. The chemicals once seemed near magical, able to repel water, oil, and stain. By the 1970s, DuPont and 3M had used them to develop Teflon and Scotchgard, and they slipped into an array of everyday products, from gum wrappers to sofas to frying pans to carpets, known as per fluoral. Well, I'm gonna just say perfluoral, perfluorocal substance or PFAS. They were a boon to the military. Uh, uh, they were a boon to the military too, which used them in forms that snuffed out explosive oil and fuel fires. It's long been known that in certain concentration, the compound could be dangerous if they got into water or if people breathed dust or ate food that contains them. Tests showed they accumulate in the blood of chemical factory workers and residents living nearby. The studies linked some of the chemicals to cancer and birth defect. Now, two new analyses of drinking water data and the science used to analyze it to make clear the Environment Protection Agency and the Department of Defense have downplayed the public threat posed by these chemicals. Far more people have likely been exposed to dangerous levels of them than has previously been reported because contamination from them is more widespread than has ever been officially acknowledged. Moreover, ProPublica has found the government understatement of the threat appears to be no accident. The EPA and the Department of Defense calibrated water tests to exclude some harmful levels of contamination and only register especially high concentration of chemicals. According to the vice president of one testing company, several prominent scientists told ProPublica the DoD chose to use tests that would identify only a handful of chemicals rather than more advanced tests that the agency's own scientists has helped to develop, which could potentially identify the presence of hundreds of additional compounds. The first analysis, contained in an EPA contractor PowerPoint presentation, shows that one chemical, the PFAS most understood to cause harm, is 24 times more prevalent in public drinking water than the EPA has reported. So, like I said, you nigger when you want to engage in covert poisoning and all of that stuff, the same thing is being to your asses too. Yeah. Okay. Based on this, the Environmental Working Group, an advocacy organization whose scientists have studied pollution, PFAS pollution, has estimated that as many as 110 million Americans are now at risk of being exposed to PFAS chemicals. In the second analysis, ProPublica compared how the military checks for and measure PFAS-related contaminations to what's identified by more advanced tests. We found that the military relied on tests which are not capable of detecting all the PFAS chemicals it believes to be present. Even then, it underreported its results, sharing only a small part of its data. We also found that the military's own research program had retested several of those defense sites using more advanced testing technology and identified significantly more pollution than what the military reported to Congress. Even before the troubling new information about PFAS chemicals emerged, the government had acknowledged problems related to them were spreading. Past EPA water testing, however, incomplete, identified drinking water contaminant across 33 states that Harvard researchers estimated affected some 6 million people. The military suspected drinking water at more than 660 U.S. defense sites where firefighters formed was used to be contaminated. Earlier this year, it announced it had confirmed contamination in 36 drinking water systems and in 90 underground sites on or near its facilities. Now, you have people joining the military to defend this country and are being poisoned by our own government, by its own military, by their own military that they sign up for. Okay? I mean, come on. The new analysis suggests these findings likely represents just a fraction of the true number of people and drinking water system affected. In written response to questions, the EPA did not directly address whether it had understated contamination from PFAS chemicals. The agency said it had confidence in its current testing procedure and had set detection limits at appropriate level. It also stated that it is taking steps forward regulating towards regulating some PFAS compound and registering them as hazardous substances, a classification that triggered additional oversight on the waste and pollution law. The agency will take concrete action to ensure PFAS is thoroughly addressed and all Americans have access to clean and safe drinking water, then EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt, who recently resigned, said in a written statement to ProPublica in May. Yeah. So going forward, right? This is in May this year, and then he resigns. All right. So you cannot hold him at his word. Okay. This is the game that these people play with us. When I talk about the sociopath, the psychopath, the dog tribe personality traits within people in position of power within the elites, right? It is the mass murder of people, and they get off on it, right? It is the sadistic mindset, and if they can transfer that mindset to us within the public, guess what? We will stay silent. We will become silent even when it is to our own detriment, right? The Department of Defense also responded to questions in writing, defending its testing methods as the best available and called it difficult to fully assess risk from PFAS because the EPA has not regulated those chemicals. The DoD spokeswoman said the Pentagon Research Group has a program underway aimed to enhancing the test method and detecting more PFAS compounds, but suggests that no alternative are ready for use. She did not answer questions about why the agency reported contamination levels for only two chemicals to Congress when it would have had data on many more. So, again, understand the games that they play, right? Understand the omittance of certain things. So it's like, okay, well, we're not lying. We just not going to mention certain things. So you're not going to know about it. You're not going to ask about it, right? This is what they do. When I talk about the narcissistic personality traits being conditioned within people within the society, when people are not, people are only giving you pieces of information, right? Is because that is how they're conditioned. They do these things and they give you pieces of information is because they want to manipulate you. Okay? And so you got to understand what's going on. All right. So what does it says here? Okay, so she did not answer questions about why the agency reported contaminants level for only two chemicals to Congress when it would have had data on many more, stating only that the Pentagon is committed to protecting human health and the environment. They keep saying that, but they keep showing us every single day that they don't care, that they are not about protecting human health and the environment, right? But it's because they understand psychological manipulation. It is because they understand that technology, like silent sound, radio wave and microwave frequency weapons to subdue our emotions, to subdue our minds. This is why they can get on television. This is why they can lie to us. They can admit things, and even when we know, right, we don't get angry, and we never understand and ask ourselves, why aren't we angry? All right, so I don't want to read the. Well, I'm not going to read the rest of this, I should say, but I want to show you guys a video in that I was watching, which made me go and look the stuff up because, again, no one is better than believing. All right, hold on a sec. All right, so here's a video, and again, you know what many white people don't understand, right, is how they believe in white supremacy is a tool that is used against them. They don't understand it, right? And I'm gonna tell you why. Because as long as they believe that black people are the problem, and they really believe that these white oligarchs have their best interests, even though over and over again. They are shown that they don't. But this is a video that talks about farmers, right? And the only people on here are white people. Okay? You had a whole town of white people, almost 70,000 white people, poisoned by these chemicals. Okay? And they're all sitting in a meeting, right? Not angry, not upset, right? They hire a lawyer who filed a class action lawsuit. Got a settlement of $70 million, which is nothing compared to, again, and we talk about Ferguson. That amount of money is nothing. Okay, it should have been not Ferguson. Sorry, Flint, Michigan. It should have been to the tunes of tens of billions of dollars. Okay, tens of billions of dollars. I'm talking about to where every resident of Flint, every resident, down to the children, okay, when they divide out that payment, each person, individual, whether they're a child, whether they're a teenager, adult, should have at least gotten a check for at least $5-6 million each, because they will need that money for the rest of their lives. And I think it should be more for children. I think if the person is under 20 years old, they should at least get $10 million each. The adults that are older and over 20, $5 million minimum. All right, because that would make sure that for the rest of their life, they can at least um, survive. Well, I shouldn't say survive, but they can at least uh, uh, get the things that they need to to help them, whether it be medical bills, whether it be um, you know purchasing a home that they can live in, you know. But it was atrocious, all right. And I keep saying we have, as people, we have to wake up. We have to wake up because the system, it is made to destroy us. Because these people are about death. When I talk about Christianity being a death cult, these people are the leaders of that death cult. Okay, I'm just gonna put a little part here because this is important.
We sat here and ate beef 3, 4, 5 days
Now
a
listen to
week
what he said.
for, as far as I'm concerned, over a decade of contaminated beef. How much is in my system? How much is in my kid's system? Is it going to kill them before they get a life? It's hard to say.
There's something poisoning America's farms. A chemical that was built in a lab decades ago by companies who knew in private that it was highly toxic. Now that chemical is showing up almost everywhere.
It is a Pandora's box. It's going to blow up, and people are going to find out it's in it and everything, and it's in everyone, and there's nothing to clean it up, and there's nothing to save you from it.
Toxic PFAS, also known as
forever chemicals.
PFAS are in so many consumer products. Non-stick.
All right. So when I talk about the greed, not just me. All right. And when I talk about how they will do things to us so that they can create an agenda, they have to create a distraction, create public enemies, but it's never the people at the top. It is never those that sit on the boards of these corporations who are willingly lying to us, who know that certain products that they make are highly toxic, poisonous, right? And what do? They use money to bribe those within the government, the EPA, to downplay the seriousness of the chemicals that they produce, of the products that they produce, right? But you won't find Teflon cookware in their house. You won't find that because they know. But as long as they keep us as believing that it's safe, and as long as they keep on manipulating us to trust them when we really shouldn't trust them, right? Like I said, I hate to tell y'all, but y'all don't want to listen.
Hands,
dental floss, computer chips,
shampoos, and conditioners.
Whether it's gone down the river and contaminated fresh drinking water for people, or if it's on farmland and you're eating it, it's out there.
We have a mass poisoning of our population.
Forever chemicals are linked to a number of serious health issues.
How can a company knowingly have contaminated the groundwater?
So, how did we get here?
They know because they're above the law. I was watching a video earlier that says, no, it says from the Fifth Amendment, and it says, not even the law is above the law. Yes, they are above the law. Right? We talk about corruption from the top. That has been passed down to those in the bottom. It isn't from the bottom going to the top. It's from the top going to the bottom. Whenever you have corrupt leadership, in any country, in any organization, in the military, have you, those that work on those leadership will also be corrupt, because they have to make you corrupt so that way you can never blow the whistle. And if you do blow the whistle on their corruption, they will target you and they will destroy your life. We've seen it over and over again. I talked about that cop, that hero. He was a hero. Okay? When the police department decided to cover up the murder of a black man in the back of a police car, he blew the whistle. And then they charged him with a federal crime. Right? But nigger peers want to talk about Jesus this and Jesus that and stuff. When Jesus walked into the synagogue, and what did he do? He overturned the money changers. He turned over the tables. But nigger peers in church with these pastors who will lock the door behind them and tell them that they're not leaving until they get like $50,000. Right? Nigger peers will go to church with these pastors saying that, oh, I didn't ask, that's not what I asked for. You need to put another $1,000 more on top of that. And then he tried to correct himself, but it's a lie because he said it's 1,000 then another 1,000. That's what he asked for. He said that's what I asked for, 1,000 and another 1,000. Okay. And these people have no issue lying. These people have no issue deceiving you and I. Anyhow, I just wanted to say that.
How did our farms become toxic waste sites? How did the Teflon in your nonstick pan become a full-blown public health crisis? And why has it taken so long for the government to take action?
They knew about the problem for decades.
And now they've got a chemical that can't be destroyed, it can't be cleaned up.
Wow. Okay, they knew. But nigger peons don't want to know. Right? You so-called religious Caucasians don't want to know. You just want to believe. It is better to know than to believe. Because when you know, you will make the changes and you will hold them accountable, and the change will come faster. When you want to believe is why they keep pushing the problem down the line for decades. Yeah, she said for decades they knew about this. All right. So when there's also about the depopulation agenda that we tend not to want to think about. These people have a plan. They have an agenda. Okay, they have many agendas, but their biggest agenda is to depopulate the planet. Right? Because they believe that there isn't enough food sources, but they're the ones that are destroying the food sources. So again, it shows you that they create the problem. They create the problem, and then they have the solution to the problem that they create. But they don't accept responsibility for creating the problem, right? But they want the praises for the solution of the problem that they created. All right, anyhow, talk to you guys in the next video.